Ukrainian FPV drones zero in on Russian infantry, while bombers destroy strongpoints. In latest footages, you can see that special operations units of the Defense Intelligence continue systematic combat operations along the front line, combining firepower, unmanned systems, and precise coordination. The footage documents the unit's combat activity throughout January, showcasing a wide range of integrated strike capabilities. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya in the latest deep dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments.
And today we're going to cover, it's the systematic collapse of an adversary's defensive lines, one robotic strike at a time.
And the sources we're looking at today, fresh from the field in January 2026, they suggest something huge.
They really do. It looks like Ukraine has moved beyond just fighting a drone war. They're now fighting a systematized robotic war. They've created this lethal corridor. Analysts are even calling it the drone death zone.
A drone death zone. Okay, let's unpack this for you. Our mission here is to really get a grasp on how this conflict is being formalized. We're not just talking about a new gadget.
No, not at all. We're talking about an entire new branch of the military. We're talking about AI-guided systems that are immune to jamming.
And we're seeing this incredible response to sophisticated infiltration tactics using these slow-moving, heavy bomber drones. It's a battlefield where the human role is changing right before our eyes. Machines aren't just for attack anymore. They're for rescue, for holding the line. It's a whole new doctrine.
It really is. And to understand it, you have to go back to June 2025. That's the moment this all changed, from decentralized improvisation to institutionalized strategic warfare.
You're talking about the establishment of the USF.
Exactly. The unmanned systems forces. This move took hundreds of, scattered volunteer drone units and professionalized them, put them into actual strike brigades under one commander, Major Robert Brovdi. His call sign is Magyar.
So what does that actually change on the ground? I mean, going from scrappy volunteer groups to a formal military branch, that must have a huge impact.
Oh, it changes everything. Logistics, training, accountability. But most importantly, it gives them a clear strategic doctrine. And that doctrine is systemic attrition.
Systemic attrition. So they're not just looking for quick tactical wins.
No. The USF doctrine is all about creating and maintaining a deep, lethal kill zone. And the goal is, it's calculated. It's designed to inflict personnel losses that match the adversary's monthly mobilization cycles.
Which are estimated at what, around 35,000 troops a month?
That's the number. So the goal is literally to make the war mathematically unsupportable, to take out soldiers faster than they can be replaced.
A war of numbers. And we saw this doctrine in action just recently, right?
We did, between January 12th and 14th of this year, a perfectly coordinated C-8 operation.
Suppression of enemy air defenses. But this wasn't on the front line.
Not even close. What's incredible is the distance. The strike elements hit 6 high-value Russian air defense systems deep in the operational rear. We're talking targets anywhere from 46 to 160 kilometers from the front.
They took out things like the Buck M1 and Tor M2 SAMs, even a Vitayaz radar, basically blinding the entire regional air defense network.
Right. But the real prize, the most strategic target they hit, was the TORF-S, the Command Communications System.
The 15th Artillery Recon Brigade took that one out. Now that name, TORF-S, it's not one most people would know. Why was that such a critical hit?
That's a great question, because it gets to the heart of strategy versus tactics.
What?
You take out a mobile Tor M2, that's a tactical problem. It can be replaced. The TORF-S, that's different.
The stationary hub, right.
It is. Think of it as the central, secure switchboard for Army-level command and control. It's rare, it's hard to replace, and losing it it shatters coordination across a massive area. It turns a cohesive force into a bunch of isolated, fractured groups, a single point of failure.
Okay, so that's the deep strategic game. Let's shift focus now to the front line itself. How is this drone death zone actually built? We're hearing about a kind of tactical triad.
That's right. It's a constant interplay between 3 elements: FPVs, the enemy's infiltration tactics, and then the heavy bomber response.
Let's start with the FPVs, the first-person view kamikazes.
They've completely changed close combat. These aren't just modified racing drones anymore. They are the primary precision anti-personnel and anti-tank weapon. They give you a beyond line-of-sight strike capability with a range that can be, 6 times greater than a traditional anti-tank vessel.
The impact on infantry must be devastating. We have one source, an anecdote from the Da Vinci Wolves unit. Their pilots report killing at least 3 Russian soldiers in a single 24-hour cycle per pilot.
Exactly. It's a level of persistent individual lethality that soldiers have just never faced before. And that lethality has forced a major tactical shift from the other side.
Because the massed armored assaults just don't work anymore.
They're failing spectacularly. Drones are now accounting for up to 75% of combat losses on the front. So they've pivoted. They're now using these small infantry groups.
Sneaking in on foot?
On foot, one by one sometimes. We've even seen reports of them crawling through old drainage pipes near places like Pakrovsk, trying to get past that drone line.
Wow. So they're resorting to almost medieval stealth tactics to counter this high-tech robotic warfare.
It's a strange hybrid, and it's incredibly high cost. Casualties are still huge, but the goal is to slowly accumulate forces behind the lines to make a city like Pakrovsk indefensible.
But when they do manage to group up, that's when the third part of the triad comes in.
That's when the heavy bombers arrive. The Baba Yaga-class drone.
These are the big ones, the octocopters.
Yes, and their specialty is systematic structural collapse. They operate at night using thermal imaging. They carry these huge payloads, up to 20 kilograms of mines or mortar rounds. Their job is to just dismantle reinforced bunkers and dugouts before Ukrainian infantry ever has to go in.
So the robots take the biggest risk.
The robots absorb the risk, saving human lives. It's a core part of the doctrine.
Of course, none of this happens in a vacuum. It's a constant, escalating technological arms race.
Always. The moment one side gets an edge, the other adapts, usually with electronic warfare or EW. We've seen Russian programs like the Rubicon drone become very good at hitting Ukrainian logistics, so the innovation has to be relentless.
And the sources point to two huge leaps to stay ahead of that jamming.
Yeah.
The first one is, it sounds almost low-tech.
It does, but it's devastatingly effective. It's the shift to fiber optic controlled FPV drones. We're seeing systems like the Queen Hornet being tested by Magyar's own units.
Wait, fiber optic? As in a physical wire tethering the drone to the pilot?
That's exactly what it is. It's unspooling an incredibly thin line. Think of it like a data-carrying fishing line. It maintains a secure data link for up to 15, maybe 20 kilometers, and it makes the drone completely immune to electromagnetic jamming.
But wouldn't a physical cable be slower to deploy? Doesn't it risk giving away the operator's position?
It does, and that's the strategic trade-off. You wouldn't use it for a fleeting tactical target, but for taking out high-value stationary targets deep in the rear, like artillery in Belgorod Oblast. The guaranteed connection is absolutely worth it. You sacrifice mobility for absolute certainty.
Okay, so fiber optics solves the long-range jamming problem. What about closer in? When the drone is making its final attack run?
That's where the next leap comes in, AI and autonomous terminal guidance.
Because even without jamming, the pilot can lose the signal near the ground.
Right, terrain, buildings, anything can break that link at the last second. So drones like the Saker Scout have onboard processing. The pilot designates the target from a distance, but then the drone uses its own image matching algorithms to lock on.
How smart is it?
It's trained to identify up to 64 different types of enemy equipment. If the pilot loses the signal, the AI takes over, tracks the target, and finishes the strike. It gives a cheap FPV drone a fire-and-forget capability.
So as the sky becomes this storm of lethal drones, the ground has to change too. The sources are highlighting a massive shift to uncrewed ground vehicles, UGVs.
It's not an option anymore, it's a necessity. With all these FPVs in the air, using a normal truck for logistics near the front line is it's a death sentence for the driver and the vehicle.
And the scale of this shift it's just staggering. In sectors like Pakrovsk, the reports say up to 90% of all frontline supplies are now delivered by UGVs.
90%. Ammo, food, water, everything. They're smaller, they're harder to spot, and their communication links are much harder to jam than in aerial systems.
And it's not just logistics. Their role in saving lives is profound.
There's one specific, really dramatic story. A land drone evacuating a wounded soldier, 2 broken legs, a chest wound. It carried him for more than a mile back to safety. The whole evacuation took 20 hours.
20 hours.
And the soldier survived. It shows you these things are becoming indispensable robotic medics in places where no human rescuer could possibly go.
They're even starting to take on direct combat roles. We saw a milestone recently where a machine gun-equipped UGV held a frontline position for 45 days.
Exactly, and that just perfectly illustrates the concept that robots do not bleed. It's a huge deal for mitigating Ukraine's manpower challenges. They aren't replacing infantry for complex attacks, but for holding a static line. They're essential. They let the human soldiers rest and focus on the things machines can't do.
So if we pull all of these threads together, the formal drone force, the attrition doctrine, the tech leaps, the UGV backbone, what's the big picture? What's the strategic outlook for 2026?
It means Ukraine is trying to force a strategic calculation on their adversary. They're making the cost of occupation unsustainable by neutralizing Russia's traditional advantages in massed armor and personnel. It's an intellectual war against an industrial one.
But we have to acknowledge the other side isn't standing still. This is still a chess match.
A relentless one. Russia is fielding new jet-powered Gerin 5 long-range drones. We're seeing their Molniya 2 FPVs reportedly using Starlink to get ranges of over 230 kilometers. Any advantage is temporary. It's measured in months, not years.
Which brings us to the key challenge then.
Yeah.
For Ukraine and its European allies, it's all about sustaining that innovation cycle.
Right. This is now a transparent networked war. The enemy sees your new tech and starts copying it tomorrow. So the real question isn't if Ukraine can innovate. They've proven they're brilliant at it. The question is how quickly Western support can provide the resources, the CUAS systems, and the industrial base needed to stay ahead.
That support, then, is what keeps that drone death zone firmly on their side of the line.
It's the difference between surviving and prevailing, this rapid-fire innovation contest. That is the war now.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex Sanaria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
This deep dive into the Ukrainian battlefield shows us that the future of warfare is already here, and it is entirely robotic, networked, and relentless.
Sign A. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.